Hey everyone, X-Trades here. I'm going to go over all my Forex stuff, currencies and things, or at least the stuff I'm watching. December 17th, Wednesday, my first one, my first video. I'm going to start with USD Canadian. My whole thing is I kind of have a hierarchy of where I think currencies are going, and it's based on these charts that I'll kind of go over over the next little bit here. I'm going to do this on the weekly time frame because in general, like day trading, I don't really do that much. I'm more of a swing trader. And also, with something as big as currencies, I think weekly is a better context for me. And just in general, just cleaner charting. So USD has shown strength over the last, I don't know, 2 decades or whatever, 3 decades against Canadian. With GDP, employment, US being more pro-business, all those things, not too surprising. But more recently, we've had a little more turmoil with the Canadian unemployment rates and with the tightening of interest rates in Canada and things like that. But in general, I'm more interested in what the chart's doing. And so, this is what I have. I have a major resistance here. I guess this should be red or orange or something. Then I have major support here. So in general, I'm bullish USD Canadian. Like this is a bullish chart. And it's bullish because we have deviation, support, a clean range. We broke out again. However, we have consistent higher lows. In the same way, it's different than this because we had higher lows here. It's true. This we actually almost tested too. But after the test, it just nuked. Okay, so what makes this more bullish is you had test, higher low, test, higher low, test, higher low. So this is compression, right? Which is usually good because whichever way it goes, it's usually a big move. And so we saw that here. Like the second this breaks, you would go long. We saw a huge move to the upside, and like all big moves, it came back down. However, it came back down to a higher low, which is crazy bullish because it means that the market is accepting that it can go up, at least in my view. And so what happened? Well, we blew through this again, which you would long, which I didn't because I don't actually trade FX. I trade it in the sense that I hold USD or hold Canadian or US or Canadian equities, but I have a paper account for this, but I don't actually hold it. But I'm kind of using this to just figure out what the heck's going on and other things. So anyways, enough rambling, I guess. I want to delete all this. Exactly. That sets the context for what I'm expecting next. And I'm expecting this to hold and for us to continue higher. That would make the most sense because that's what we're at. Alternatively, I'm open to a loss of this and then for us to continue lower. And so that gives me plans for the future where I can long this on a reclaim. I can at least target here. And then I have a target up here if we break above where I can add and stuff. And alternatively, I can go short if that setup comes to. The short's obviously better, but yeah. So there's my USD Canadian outlook, and Canada actually surprised with the employment numbers. They're not entirely genuine in the same way that the data from the States isn't entirely genuine, but the markets trade on what the markets trade on, so I don't really care if the numbers are genuine. I just care how it's trading. Which takes me to DXY, which I touched on in my first video, but DXY, I'm bearish, which lines up perfectly with the idea that USD is going to retest this purple with Canadian. Economy-wise, like macro-wise, I'm probably more bearish Canada, maybe. It's pretty close. Unsure. Bearish both. So we'll see. Which leads me to my next point, which is Europe. If we look at Euro USD, well, I'm very bullish Euro USD. Here's the weekly. This is why. Massive trend line from 2008 that has been retested many times, well established, and in the same way that the other zone had been defended. I mean, I really like this setup. There's the long, and the target is actually here as far as charting goes. So in 20 years, we'll see if Euro is worth 1.58 USD. But that's kind of my long-term outlook for Euro. Euro is bullish for me right now. Now, chart-wise, there's a lot of, you can draw a lot of levels on this. Pretty much every one of these is a pretty major roadblock to get through. It's never a straight line, but in general, that's the direction that and so that kind of sets the stage for me to be long Euro. And if I'm bearish USD Canadian, I mean long term I'm bullish USD Canadian because of this chart, which means I think Canadian is weaker than USD. And if I'm bullish Euro USD, that means I think Euro is stronger than USD. Long term, I'm bullish Euro Canadian. And that's what I'm looking at here. This should give me more returns if my thesis is correct. And so, remember, this is weekly. Euro has defended this range, or this range is held break above. We're now at a retest of the support, and I'm looking for this to trade to the previous all-time high at 1.7 euro per Canadian. Now, like I said, the latest data out of Canada, though, is kind of, I don't know if this is going to play out that way, but I'm going to be watching USD Canadian to trade my Euro Canadian. But if this gets back inside, like if Euro Canadian gets back inside and we start seeing this, then the Canadian dollar could be really bullish. And so that takes me to Canada JPY. Canada Japanese yen. And actually, you saw I took a paper trade here, which was wrong. And this is really bullish. This breakout's very bullish. So let's redo this. I still want to see a retest, but I'm actually expecting this to take out the highs. I might have to rethink everything. I mean, this is a big deal. Because Japan's increasing their rates like crazy. Oh, it's because JPY is down right now. Japanese yen, I have bullish. This is a pretty clean range. I've already got my first target, so this is paper. And then I want to see either a retest or this can just continue, and then there's another long trigger here. But for, man, USD's on a rip today if, yeah, it is. Here's USD JPY. So it's still within range. And this is still a short setup. I mean, USD JPY I have bearish. I mean, bearish USD. Where's DXY? So USD should fail against the yen. Means USD should fail against the euro. So I guess really it's just about the Canadian dollar. British pound is a similar thing. You know, we have support. Got this range, which is pretty big. And it looks like that it's just bearish USD. You know, but this is very rough. I'd have to actually do this properly. But, you know, continue above. Looking for pound to go 1.4 here. Interesting. This is the biggest upset today, though. Canada JPY. It's just freight train going. Canadian dollars. I mean, US dollar and Canadian dollar are looking really strong today. But I mean, it's one day. These are weekly charts, so I'm not going to do these updates as much. Do these every couple of weeks, and I'll see if I'm right or what price is doing, and we can change plans accordingly. But that's kind of what I'm looking at for my currency trades currently. So let's look at yields. 10-year. 10-year's been on a steady rise. It would make sense for it to hit this 4.3 zone unless they start cutting rates. And here I'm long-term bullish T-bills, kind of like I mentioned in my first video, but short-term, I could see us retesting orange or retesting this zone here. As far as a trigger to buy, I'm looking for either a break above, buy here, or a sweep of this low area here. So something like this where we reclaim, that would be really bullish. Or a bounce off this trend line as well. That would be bullish. And I'm bullish because this is a reversal pattern. Descending. I think it's a descending triangle it's called. So yeah, it's just about patience for this one. There's no execution yet. You can buy TLT on a macro level of like they're gonna cut, but that's not what this channel's for. We focus on charting. It's not really how my system works. I like having a macro component and having a charting component. So if the numbers don't make sense, the numbers don't make sense. I'm not going to buy something that doesn't make sense. And there it is. That's my look at currencies, or the ones I'm watching. Long term, I have DXY. It's the same setup. We've lost this range. It could literally, I mean, DXY could be 88 in 2 or 3 years. So we'll see. We'll see what happens, and we'll adjust our plans accordingly.